So, I found a place beyond this recording studio. It's this place, it just goes on and on and on. Cut to review. Alright, and welcome back, everybody. Today, if the little intro didn't give you enough hint, I'm going to be talking about the Backrooms. Alright, so this film came out to rave reviews. As far as I'm concerned, it was amazing, fantastic, even I call it. Um, and this movie for me was a standout, so much so that I'm just gonna say it now, and I'll give you guys this little update. But I'll say this right now for this movie. This movie is my favorite movie of the year so far. It's number one on my list. In fact, A24 shares both of the top two films for me this year. The other one I'm hoping to talk about maybe a little bit later this week. But my top two right now are Backrooms at number one, and then at number two is the drama from A24. So, and I will talk about the drama here soon. I've been crazy busy. There have been some uh, life changes that have been going on in my life, and then I had the collaboration with Kevin, um, and I hope you guys have gotten a chance to go see that. If not, I will drop the link to that playlist in this video, and you guys can go watch that over on my channel. So go check that out. But I wanted to talk about the Backrooms. In my notes, I had the best way to talk about the Backrooms is by using the same analogy that our favorite furniture store owner Clark does in the film, where he says the more this place remembers something, the less it actually does. Now, this horror flick feels reminiscent of so many different things. A film lost in its own independent space and time period. It's set in the 90s, which I feel like is amazing because it follows after the highly popular uh, internet series by Kane Pixels, uh, the YouTuber, and not the director, Kane Parsons, who also has a really good voice, and he's one and the same person. But this flick definitely feels like it lives in its own space, even beyond the series itself, which is one thing that I actually liked about it, and I think that most people will enjoy. Now, I've heard there's a lot of online hate currently brewing for this film, just because people didn't really get it, didn't understand what the film was about, and I want to be fair to those people. I understand your complaints. I took a mixed group to this film. Myself, I was in probably my late high school years, college years when Backrooms really took off from the creepy pasta and the internet series. So this was right down my alley. I've always been into these types of like short form horror stories that pop up on YouTube or through podcasting or whatever you get to see these short stories told through one medium or another. Um, and I had a friend that she also shared the same interest in it. And the other two people that we took with us to the film did not know anything about the movie, and they went into it knowing basically nothing except for maybe a YouTube breakdown that they chose to watch, and they came out absolutely maybe disliking it, maybe hating it, according to my one friend. But ultimately, I think you just have to appreciate that this film, with the young director Kane Parson, is finding its own voice, and he finds his voice, Kane Parsons does, and delivering what could be the best breakout hit so far. It's a kind of movie that will endlessly be debated, taking audiences down a path toward either the most original piece of media to come out, even in the last couple of years, but definitely so far this year, in my opinion, or one of the most misunderstood concept films ever. Ultimately, this film is extremely well thought out and well executed, no matter what you think of it. It's extremely well done, and I feel like, from a perspective of someone who has seen, the likes of Iron Lung and stuff, there's definitely a future that we can trust to the young directors right now, with Curry Baker and, of course, Kane Parsons, and even Mark Fishbach, who did Iron Lung. They all do a great job with their works in this film industry. Both um, Curry Baker and Kane Parsons are top two at the box office right now. Number one domestically is, of course, Backrooms, and then number two is Obsession. I haven't gotten a chance to get out and see Obsession yet, but I'm hoping to here soon before it ends its theatrical run. But both are very original concept films for sure, based on an idea that's from an internet idea, and then they funded it and got it to A24 and Blumhouse, respectively. And um, from a casting perspective, both Obsession and Backrooms, they definitely have a lot of things to add with casting to the world building in both. Um, and of course, Backrooms is genuinely impressive, although it can drag at times and may confuse the uninitiated. Um, Parsons makes a massive swing here, and I think if you just go into it knowing that it's going to confuse you and that it's going to be something that you can debate with your friends afterwards, I even debate within myself the ideas that it discovers, um, which I'll talk about in a minute when I get to my spoiler chunk of the review. But for right now, I just want to keep it very shallow. So, um, Parsons, for the most part, this film pays it off. All the internet lore and even some of the stuff that's more deep cut for real fans that even I was like, that's definitely for people who have followed this film very, very closely. Um, he adds another compelling voice to the growing YouTuber turned filmmaker renaissance I feel like we're going through this year, where we can see two of the top films in the box office right now, at least domestically in the US, are YouTubers. And they're both beating out massive corporations and companies. And that's amazing. If you were to tell me that, 10 years ago, we would be getting independent horror films to beat out, box office like genre, you know, just like series type legacy era characters would be getting beat out by internet concepts turned film, I'd be like, yeah, right. But that's the era that we're in, and I think it's beautiful, and it definitely turned the heads of many executives and theaters alike to go, there's definitely something here. So, talking just about the horror elements of the movie Backrooms itself, the tension is palpable, and there's plenty to keep you on the edge of your seat throughout your time spent in Parsons' world of the Backrooms, in the liminal space horror film. It's anchored by a great duo performances from Chiwetel Ejiofor, and her name escapes me now, but the young lady that plays his psychiatrist. They both do an amazing, amazing job in this film. And the film keeps you grounded when the situation becomes increasingly surreal and disorienting throughout. There are so many moments where it could lose you, but ultimately I feel like if you're willing to accept what it is and not, judge it, I think you'll enjoy this even if you don't know anything about Backrooms besides just, seeing a trailer for it. I think you'll enjoy it. And that's really what gives movies like this, the standalone power, is just knowing that you don't have to know the lore to understand this movie. I think this movie stands outside of the lore from the actual series on YouTube just enough to appeal to new fans and also to pay off some of the bigger moments from the actual YouTube series that you will catch the little Easter eggs throughout hidden there for lifetime fans. And that's just something that I feel like you can't talk about enough. Um, so now I wanted to get to sort of my Oscar predictions, and then I will throw in my little timestamp here where you guys can cut off if you don't want any spoilers. And I can talk about sort of my theories of what this film actually represents, besides just obviously the fact that it represents a great horror film. So, before I get to that though, let's talk about my Oscar predictions. I do think that this one should get nominated for these categories. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one get any of these nominations. If it gets none of them, then I don't even know what to say because it just feels like such an obvious choice to me, at least. Definitely Best Picture. I could see this one getting Best Picture just because, as you all have probably seen online, there's not a lot of competition this year, and that's fine. But I do think this one will get nominated for Best Picture, Best Production Design. I mean, the fact that he built an entire 30,000 square foot actual Backrooms set for the cast to wander around in and that they got lost in, according to some articles, that's amazing. So he should at least get, they should get nominated for that. Best Sound Design. In my opinion, the sound design in this film is palpable. At times, you feel like you're really living in something very dystopian. Best visual effects for sure. Um, just visually, some of the entities and the effects that he mostly did through a computer application called Blender. Just really impressive, and in fact very frightening. Um, I definitely think he should get Best Director. Mr. Kane Parsons should for this film, and Best Score. The music was obviously very liminal and just kind of felt very lost in its own time, which matched the film, and at times some of the best even sound design was just the quiet moments where you're sitting behind a 90s style camcorder with a very grainy filter, which again adds to the visual effects, and even I could see maybe cinematography for this one. I definitely think it will get, nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay if nothing, and it might get nominated for sound design and visual effects, if nothing else. I do think it could win any and or all of those categories. Um, but let's go ahead and I'm going to move into my spoilers now. So this is your forewarning. Moving into spoiler. Now we're into spoiler territory. This is for all of you who watch the film. I'm going to do about, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. To me, this film represents something that I feel like it kind of talks about, which is memory. Throughout the film, we spend a lot of time with both Clark and his therapist is talking about memories and what they actually remember about their childhood and past mistakes. And we get this really cool instance where, if you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. But we start in her home, the therapist's home, and we just go through level by level. And over time, it gets more and more distorted as we go through, until it's just an empty room and it looks like the back rooms. I think there's something to be said for this movie kind of showing, as you go through life, what do you actually remember, and that's kind of why I think that cell line from the character Clark is such a good one line description for this film. The more it remembers, the less it does. And I feel like this film definitely lives in its own space, that it's trying to remember things, and the concept of the back rooms is things that are just placed from reality that don't really fit anywhere else, and it creates its own, life and moments and different things and rooms and places. And that's why it's endless, is because the more it builds, the less it actually makes sense to what is in actuality a real thing. And so I feel like that scene at the end of the film where we're kind of sitting with both of our main characters and a couple of different entities are there. We can kind of feel the different characters going through the motions of just feeling like Clark is feeling like his business is eating away at him and his chance to become something more than just a furniture store owner and chase his dreams. And we kind of see this moment where, and I won't spoil it even if you have seen it, but an entity comes out of nowhere and literally eats him. And I think it's just a really good representation of how something can eat away at you until you feel like you're physically being eaten by something that you feel like is destroying your dreams, whether that's a toxic relationship or a job or even just different things like that that you feel like you can't ever get away from. And that's why I think Backrooms is more just about acceptance and learning to move on and forget the things that don't really matter and that you can't change, because ultimately they will start to pile up and create more empty spaces in your brain where important things could go, and it becomes more just about what you actually remember. That will be the end of my uh, discussion of this film. Overall, I give it a really good rating. I would like to start a rating system. If I were to give it any form of rating, I'd give it this is definitely a popcorn thriller to where you should go. It's a good watch. Obviously, it's rated R for a reason, and it's definitely intense. It definitely has the scares. It's an extremely cool concept and very well executed, even for the uninitiated. So I would give it a solid two thumbs up and a go for it if I had to say anything. Just, maybe go into it, with, maybe do a little homework if I can suggest that. Go watch a recap video, if nothing, on YouTube. There's like hundreds and they're all very good. Um, but I give it a solid 10 out of 10 stars. Ultimately, that's what I ended up giving it, even in my written reviews for this film. So, other than that, that's all I have to say. I am going to be dropping a couple different videos, hopefully later this week. Probably one on Wednesday I'll do for the film, The Drama. And then we'll just see how the rest of the week goes. But I'm at least planning on doing the drama for this week. And then hopefully I'm going to do another versus film or versus video where I'm going to compare two different films again. And that seems to be really popular. So make sure you guys like, subscribe. If you've seen the Backrooms, let me know in the comments down below what your favorite part of the film was. And just give me that audience engagement. It means the world to me, you guys. Other than that, if for some reason I should get lost in my own back rooms and you guys never see me again after this point, at least we have the hope that at some point I may just see you at the movies. All right. Peace.